Should the Seattle Mariners trade away Bryan Woo and Bryce Miller? Find out more in today's video. So as we've all seen, the pitching market in the MLB is going crazy right now. We've seen guys like Lucas Giolito go to the Red Sox for $38.5 million for 2 years. We saw the Reds sign Frankie Montas to a 1-year, $16 million deal, and he only pitched in 1 game last year. And we see guys like Chris Sale also signing 2-year contracts where he's making $16 million in the first year and $22 million in the second year. And as we all know, Chris Sale has a long list of injuries over the course of his career. Also, mind you, he could be a top 20 pitcher in the game if he's healthy. But the fact that he's receiving this much money when he's getting much older and he also has that long history of injuries just tells you how high this pitching market really is. So as we all kind of know, the big argument between Mariner fans kind of over the course of this offseason is whether or not we trade Bryce Miller or Bryan Woo, or if so, which one do we get rid of? I'm going to pull up their Baseball Savant pages. One on the left is going to be Bryce Miller, and the one on the right is going to be Bryan Woo. I have seen a lot more interest in people keeping Bryan Woo over Bryce Miller, and by the Baseball Savant page, you can kind of see why. I'm personally going to dig a little bit deeper into why I think Bryce Miller should be the guy that we keep, but I can totally still see why you would want to keep Bryan Woo as well. I like them both as pitchers, and I think they have a very good career ahead of them. Bryce Miller started in 25 games last year where he had 131.1 innings thrown, while Bryan Woo threw in 18 games and only had 87.2 innings pitched. Here's kind of a little bit of a reason why I think Bryce Miller should be kind of a priority for the Mariners to keep. If you take these games started and divide it by the innings they have both thrown, Bryce Miller averages about 5.24 innings pitched per outing, while Bryan Woo only averages 4.84 innings pitched per outing. And this was kind of the big thing with Bryan Woo this past season, is he was inning restricted due to some injuries. While it's not necessarily Bryan Woo's fault that he's inning restricted, I do think this will show later in their career when Bryce Miller is healthy and Bryan Woo may have some injury issues. Now, obviously, that's all just guessing, kind of based on previous history. Was it necessarily fair to assume that just based off, his first year in the league? No. But I do think with Bryce Miller's fastball and him being able to work this offseason on his off speed, which we have seen him do on X, there have been videos going all over there showing him working on that slider. And I also think he was working on one other pitch as well. And to me, the biggest thing with Bryce Miller this past season is the fact that he struggled so much with his breaking pitches. When he first came up, he dominated because of that fastball. He has so much spin rate on that thing, it's absolutely insane. But it's the major leagues. Eventually, people are going to pick up on that, and you have to be able to throw in some off speeds as well with that fastball. And that's one thing that Bryan Woo did have over Bryce Miller, is the fact that he had a lot of good off speeds and he can control the zone very well. So to be honest, my biggest reason for keeping Bryce Miller over Bryan Woo is the fact that I think Bryce Miller is going to stay much more healthy throughout his career than Bryan Woo will. And knock on wood, of course, I don't want to jinx that for Bryce. But I just think if he could truly develop major league breaking balls, that he will be an outstanding pitcher in this league. And truly, right now, I'm also on the side that we do need to get rid of one of them, because the way the pitching market is right now, you can get a lot in return for these young, controllable pitchers. But let's also talk about what happens if we do get rid of Bryce Miller or Bryan Woo. There was a tweet yesterday that came out that said the Mariners were involved in starting pitching talks, preferably with a guy named Dylan Cease. As well, it was rumored that James Paxton was also at the Seattle Kraken Winter Classic, so there were some rumors going around that the Mariners might be interested in signing him back. So I'm very much on the fence with this, so I don't really know how I kind of want them to approach this. I think Dylan Cease is a stud, and he did just have an off year last year. James Paxton injury history kind of does concern me. But there is one specific trade situation that I wanted to show you guys that my guy D-Train over on Twitter sent to me. So the first part does involve starting pitcher Dylan Cease, and the trade consists of getting rid of Harry Ford, Jonathan Clase, and Cole Emerson, which are 3 high-regarded prospects in the Mariners system. And in return, we received Dylan Cease, which I believe we would get 2 years of Cease if I'm not mistaken. And then the second portion of this trade involves Bryce Miller and Johnny Farmelo in exchange for left fielder Randy Arozarena. In terms of the Randy Arozarena part of the trade, I would love if the Mariners went out and did this. But again, it all depends on what the Rays are looking for, which obviously we know they want starting pitching. And now in terms of the Dylan Cease trade, I feel like it's giving up a lot of prospects. But again, if we are in that window, which we are in, we need to go out and win a World Series now. And I definitely think Dylan Cease would be a big part of that. I am a little bit on the fence of giving up 3 prospects for him, but I can kind of see how that is what we would have to give up to receive him. So I definitely don't hate these 2 acquisitions at all. But there is one more that I did want to show you guys that I saw yesterday. So this was posted by BR Walkoff, and it says the Mariners pull off a Kepler-Polanco deal with the Twins, and essentially the Mariners will get second base, third baseman Jorge Polanco, right fielder Max Kepler, and some cash in exchange for right-handed pitcher Bryan Woo. So while in the grand scheme of things, this sounds like a fantastic deal for the Mariners, here's when you have to dig a little bit deeper and kind of see this through. If we were to receive Max Kepler and Jorge Polanco in a trade, they would essentially be rentals. They are both free agents going into the 2025 season, and Bryan Woo currently has 6 years of control. So again, it's going to be on the fence of whether if we're really in that window, we're going to need guys like Kepler to come help out our offense. But then again, is it really worth 1 year of both of these players in exchange for 6 years of a starting pitcher of Bryan Woo's caliber? And there are also a lot of people saying that Woo and a prospect are worth Randy Arozarena and Isaac Paredes, which I could see. The way the starting pitching market is right now and the way that certain teams desperately need starting pitching, especially the Rays, I think if you give them a Bryan Woo or a Bryce Miller and a higher prospect, you can definitely receive 2 major league ready starters now. And the last thing that I also wanted to bring up in terms of contracts, Mitch Garver is only going to be receiving $9.5 million this next season. So that's also another thing to take into consideration, is the fact that now they have $2.5 million more to go out and spend, hopefully. But truly the power is in the Seattle Mariners front office's hands. There's free agent pitchers out there that they can go acquire to fill a 5th spot if they get rid of one of them. And truly the way the market is right now, they could receive an absolute haul for one of these starting pitchers. So all we can do as Mariner fans is sit back and pray that they go out and make the right moves. Please let me know down in the comments whether you guys think we should get rid of Bryce Miller or Bryan Woo, or honestly just keep them both. But again, we still need to improve on our offense. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.